Well, I tell you what, it just couldn't be enough. From this side of the camera lens, it is a fascinating dive, and what we're covering here on the show. Come on in, Celeste. That's fine. Yeah, no problem. And it's not just people who are scientists. It's people from all walks of life. People with different academic backgrounds, people with different levels of economic work, maybe their spirituality, their religion, their family history, all across the board. But most importantly, they have this appreciation, this affinity, this obsession with some people with the microcosm. Oh, we got to fix this chair. I was going to say, Laura, can you help her fix this chair? So my next guest came all the way to Davis from the beautiful Bay Area. I was stomping around the Bay Area for quite a while there in Oakland. It's one of my favorite cities in the world, one of the most misunderstood cities on the planet in many ways as well. And my next series of guests will tell you why. Celeste Ets-Hokins is the creator of the pollinator gardens at Lake Merritt in Oakland, California. She's a zoology graduate from UC Berkeley, and she's devoted her recent environmental efforts to promoting awareness about the beautiful native bees. We didn't talk too much about them, but I was so looking forward to this interview today because we can yeah, the native bees, beautiful natives. Here we go, Matthias. We're going to show some pictures here. So we're going to hold off on this one just one sec. Okay. And also her North American Bee Calendar. Let me show that right now. This is a very special little book. It's actually produced in conjunction with the Xerces Society. She created this to inspire gardeners and growers with an appreciation for the great diversity of our lovely native bees and the habitat along the landscape that supports them. Her demonstration gardens, you can visit them if you're in the Bay Area at the gardens at Lake Merritt in Oakland. And I'm delighted to have all the way. Thanks for making the trip, Celeste.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on the Bee-a-Thon, Celeste. So. I just love this calendar, and we're going to be. You can get these through the insectnewsnetwork.com. Some of the most beautiful images. But before we talk about the bees, this is a functional calendar. You can scoot a little closer. There we go. It's a very functional calendar, right? So people can. It's a timeless calendar? Is that what you call it?
It's a perpetual calendar, and you can use, there's no days of the week, but there are numbered days of the month, and you can use it from year to year to make notes about your favorite bee plants and the visitors that you note them attracting, and like the bloom times, other characteristics of the plants, how many bees you saw on them a particular month, and compare that with what you see the next year. And so that's called phenology, keeping records about...
Phrenology, absolutely. Citizen science as well.
There
now,
you go.
just so everybody can see the arc of continuity, the first Bee-a-Thon was in 2011, and I produced it in conjunction with my wonderful friends at a website that was at the time called YourGardenShow.com, and it was to support the Great Sunflower Project out of San Francisco State University, the first national honeybee census for citizen science. And you produced this pretty much for the same reason, right?
Yes, that was the first two calendars I did were annual, and actually this calendar, the perpetual, is going to be on sale on Gretchen LeBoon's Great Sunflower Project website, but she's just renovated her site and her store isn't up and running yet.
Nice.
But it will be soon, and it'll be sold through January on that site. You can purchase them there.
Beautiful. So part of the proceeds, if you purchase one of these calendars through the Insect News Network, will of course support the Xerces Society, and the other part will support the producer of the calendar and the Bee-a-Thon itself, but it's also going to support the bees.
That's right.
Let's dive right into native pollinators. If you were to explain to the uninitiated the difference between a honeybee and all the other 19,000 species of bees, or 20,000 species of bees, how would you explain it to someone who's just looking at some flowers in the garden?
Well, our native bees, first of all, have evolved on this continent for millennia, millions of years, and they've co-evolved with our plants, with our native plants. So they are the most efficient pollinators for those plants. They're, over the years, these mutual characteristics have developed to make that a very synergistic relationship.
Yeah, it's a beautiful symphony. Yes,
exactly. And our native bees they don't live in hives. They don't make honey. The populations are roughly split between males and females. The males have no stingers at all, and the females are there. Lots of bark, but no bite.
There
and,
you go.
lots of bluster, and the females are either ground nesters. 70% are ground nesters, and 30% live in wood tunnels or other cavities.
I see. So if somebody goes looking for a native pollinator, most of the time, if you take away bumblebees and maybe carpenter bees, which build very distinct nests, a lot of them are just little holes in the ground near the plants, right? And so if we dive into it, since I'm so pleased you came out, but let's pick some of these bees so people can see them specifically. Which ones do you want to show?
All right, so I have a list. So I thought, since bumblebees are familiar to a lot of people, we'll start with bombas because it's actually an incredibly important pollinator of many of our food plants. And in fact, one of the reasons for it, the reasons they're so good at pollinating tomatoes, is that they can achieve what's called buzz pollination.
Sonication. Gotta love it.
Yeah, buzz pollination, exactly. So the female holds onto a flower, disengages her wings from her flight muscles, vibrates them at a pitch of about, I've heard either A or C, both stories, and that sonically releases pollen from deep pores in the anthers. And this is something honeybees cannot do.
I see. So they actually shake the pollen loose, and the beautiful thing is they buzz at about the same note that a symphony orchestra tunes their instruments to. So it's just a beautiful metaphor. You couldn't get enough of that one. Now, how many species of bumblebees live in the United States?
I'm not that one. I don't know. I know the numbers roughly in California, or at least some of the local ones in my area, but I am not an expert on the number. You'd have to ask Robin Thorpe. He will tell you.
And bombus is the genus. Okay, so there's lots of different subspecies. Some of them are in trouble, though, right?
Many are in trouble.
Yeah, many are in trouble.
Many are in trouble.
And ironically, some of them are used specifically for foods like tomatoes or cucumbers.
That was one of the problems, that bombus in patients was brought to different parts of the country for pollinating tomatoes, and that spread diseases. And so some of the bumblebee die-offs are due to disease spread from bringing in other species of bombus from other parts of the country for commercial purposes.
There it is, folks. Biocomplexity here. While you queue up the next one, biocomplexity. The human impact on the microcosm, what we do, how we affect the natural world, has as much to do with what's going on with honeybees and other pollinators as anything going on with climate change. And the good news about bumblebees is, for the most part, if you leave them alone, they leave you alone as well.
Absolutely.
But this next little bee, I just love this one. This is the osmia. These ones you want to look out for, but they have some special features that you can pick up on. Tell us about the osmia.
Okay, so osmia is another very important pollinator, and in fact is being used commercially to some extent to pollinate orchard fruit and almonds to some degree. But it's called sometimes this one species, Osmia lignaria, is called the blue orchard bee, or the orchard mason bee. And they're such efficient pollinators of apples. It takes only 250 osmia females to pollinate an acre of apples. Only 250 bees. That same task would require 20,000 honeybees.
Do you see that, folks? When we talk about the economics of pollination, it's not just about dollars and cents. It's about efficiency. It's just like a factory line. And this is why the honeybee situation is extremely complex. Some of the native pollinators are better, more efficient pollinators than the honeybees
But they
themselves.
need places to live on the farm, and that's one of the big things, is that trying to restore habitat. Xerces is very much at the forefront of this, is restoring on-farm habitat, so some of our native bees can live there on the farm and then pollinate for free. Now with the blue orchard bee, they will readily take up they are tunnel nesters, they're wood nesters, and they will use artificial tunnel nests, and that's how they're able to be kept on farms. They'll go ahead and take up residence.
Yeah, you can just
tubes.
drill some holes in a 2x4 and the mason bees will show up. So it's the orchid mason bee. Yeah, beautiful creatures too, and they don't sting really.
Nope.
No stinger whatsoever.
Well, the females have stingers, but they will not defend their nest.
Yeah,
So
is that right?
they will not. Their defense is to fly away.
Oh, isn't that sweet?
So really, you will be hard pressed to be stung by a female native bee. You would literally have to try to grab her in your hand and hold her.
Wow,
that's about it.
So I think we have time for 2 more bees. But just remember, folks, all these bees live all across the continent. You just have to know what you're looking for. So who's this?
And that is a leafcutter bee.
The leafcutter bees.
Definitely one of my favorites.
Sure.
And like osmia, this particular bee, because she's a megachilid, carries her pollen on the underside of her belly. Every bee in the family, Megachilidae, does that. But the leafcutters are easier to spot because their pollen is so dense and really obvious. The scopa, the specialized hairs that carry the pollen.
It's like stage makeup, actually.
Exactly. There you go.
And these ones are special because of agriculture for one big reason, right? That's the alfalfa?
Megachile rotundata was brought here, actually also not a native, but was brought here to pollinate alfalfa. But here in this country, we really don't use it anymore. In Canada, it's used, but not here. So
there's one last one, and one of my favorites. You got to show them the digger bees. If you're looking at the ground.
I was going to use the carpenters, but.
Oh, no, let's do diggers. I talked about carpenters earlier.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah,
or what about longhorns?
Do you have the digger bee in there?
I do.
Let's do digger bees.
No longhorns?
Digger bees.
Okay.
They're more fun.
Okay.
They have little.
But the boys' night out. Okay. Okay.
Okay, we'll do We'll do
two
the
more, real
longhorn
quick.
bee.
Okay.
Okay, so here's the longhorn bee.
And
very distinct long
they're
antenna.
called, the males have long antenna and the females have leg warmers. They're easy to spot. So, because their pollen is so dense on their back legs.
Anybody coming to the party tonight, you can use this as some inspiration for a costume.
That's right. And then the boys like to sleep together in the evenings and the afternoons in a flower. So Robin Thorpe dubbed this photograph of mine that I took in my backyard, Boys Night Out.
Boys Night Out. And we'll post on the post-production, we'll put all these pictures up.
Okay.
One last one.
You want a digger bee.
If you look at the ground and you ever see a little bee working industriously, usually in a semi-social situation where there's a dozen or so, or maybe a couple hundred, they look like this. They're just one of my favorite in the whole world. And they're called digger bees.
Yep. And again, the males like to sleep together. Some species.
It's all different in the bug world.
They're upside down.
Everything's different in the bug world, folks.
That's right. So the females are out working, collecting pollen and nectar, and provisioning the nest, and the males are sleeping upside down on a stem.
Well, I don't think I can get out of this one easily. So I just want to say thanks for making the trip. We know it was a big one for you. Thanks to Celeste, Ets-Hokins, and what's this?
I was just going to show you that. These are some of
the
these were
beautiful
all
natives.
taken
All right.
in my backyard.
How about that?
The first year I started doing this. So it just shows you what you can do by putting in the right plants. Who shows up?
There you go. Build a beautiful garden, you get beautiful pollinators. So thank you for being on the Bee-a-Thon
Thank you
once
very
again,
much.
and look forward to hearing more from Lake Merritt.